Seat podcast, a podcast designed to fill your passenger seat with chat about classic cars, all recorded from my 1968 Morris Minor Peggy. I'm Becca, and today I'm on my way home from the Women Drivers Social Club meet, the first one we've ever held, and I thought I'd share with you everything that we got up to, the little adventure that we've just had, and kind of perhaps make you a little bit jealous that you missed out if you are a woman in the group that wasn't able to attend today. So the original plan was just to meet up at a place called Bohemia on Alconbury Weald, and kind of park up, have a lovely kind of bit of food and drink, and a chat and a catch up. But the weather was going to be a little bit iffy, so I wasn't really sure how much time we'd get to spend outside with the cars, and also the numbers of kind of people that were booked to come were kind of a little bit lower than I was expecting, but it gave us the opportunity to have a bit more fun with what we got up to. So that's what we're going to tell you about today. So I got to Alconbury Weald and parked up in the car park that we were told we could use for about 10 o'clock. Over the weekend I'd had some problems with Peggy and her running and stuff, and so I left pretty early just to make sure that the fix that we'd fitted, which was a coil borrowed from one of Dad's imps, was now dealing with the problem, and we'd eliminated the issue. And thankfully it had, and I wasn't left stranded on my way to Alconbury Weald. So that was good. Got myself parked up and set up with a few bits and pieces that I had brought along, including a few of the little bits and pieces of merch that I'd organised for the club, and waited for my little sister and her boyfriend to come along, who were going to help me with kind of making sure that people could find us, and getting people parked up. So we were there chatting away, weather was holding off, which was lovely, and we were waiting for people to arrive, and the first to arrive was Amanda in her Morris Million coloured convertible. Not an actual Morris Million, but gorgeous nonetheless, and looks fantastic in that colour. And she come all the way from over in Norfolk, and not long behind her was Gemma in her Hyundai Coupe, and known as Spooky Coupe on Instagram, a really cool girl, and runs a local meet group to me, so it was nice for her to be able to come along to something that somebody else had organised, and she brought along her mum as well. Then Charlie and her mum arrived in a very snazzy BMW estate that she had borrowed off of her dad. The weather was set to be a little bit dubious, and her lovely MJ had just had a beautiful clean and was absolutely immaculate. So the BMW came along and was quite a nice cruiser for them, considering the distances that Charlie had covered this morning to come along, which I was really grateful for. Then we had Claire and Mush arrive in Mavis the Snail, a huge, great, incredibly unique camper van built on a Land Rover. Just so unique and interesting, and took up a decent space in the car park, and looked incredibly impressive. And then my mum and dad came along in their Singer Chamois Coupe, and also brought up a car for my sister to travel along in, the Fiat 500 that she's been using, called Olaf. So pretty nice little gathering, and we stood around talking by the cars for a little bit before we crossed over the road to Bohemia to grab ourselves a table, and they were so wonderfully accommodating. actually managed to get a table for all 12 of us together to sit and have some brunch, chat, catch up, introduce each other, share some stories, and it was a really lovely breakfast, food-wise and also people-wise. And yeah, it was just a really nice time. And given that we were a reasonably small number in cars, we started discussing the possibility of going out for a little run to some places that were of interest locally. Gemma unfortunately had to leave after the breakfast with her mum, but the rest of us, it must have got to about kind of 12 o'clock, headed back to the cars. I did some dealing from my tiny suitcase of merchandise, and then we headed off to a little convoy drive. First stop was a place called Beer of Houghton, which is an MG garage with a huge collection of bits and pieces outside that was absolutely fascinating, and we all parked up outside, got some lovely photos and had a good nosy around there. Then up to the second part of Beer of Houghton, which is up a little hill. Then on to a garage up in Somersham, and then from there to Herbie's. And it was a really lovely convoy all the way through, stopping off, getting photos. And what was really nice is that even though we were stopping off and having a chat and having a look around these places, we'd find that we'd all stand around chatting and talking about these things, sharing stories. It was bringing up new kind of conversation points that we hadn't really thought of before then. And it was just, yeah, totally different to kind of anything I'd attended before or done before, and was so kind of natural in the fact that we were having these lovely conversations, sharing experiences from place to place, and having a lovely little drive in our cars between. The club is the Women's Drivers Social Club, so it seemed important that we did have a little drive together when we thought about it. And we ended up just now at Herbie's, the place that I was at not that long ago with Charlie, and all parked up in the car park, got some lovely photos, headed inside, had a bit of a drink and a snack, and carried on again talking and chatting for another hour or so. It's the cars that bring us together, but it's always lovely that we find something to kind of keep sharing and talking with, even when we're not necessarily stood right beside the cars, as you might be at a more traditional gathering. It's been a really lovely day, and I mean it's getting on to 5 o'clock when I'm recording this now, and it's just been such a fulfilling day in terms of talking to other people that share my passions and interests that have come together because of this group that we've kind of brought together. And yeah, I'm hoping that we can do some more really exciting and interesting things in the months to come, and really start to get a few more cars coming along, and realising what a fun time and day out that you can have with a load of women who share your experiences and days out. I want to do a big thank you to all of the women that came along. Some of them had come quite some distances and made the effort to come for a day out and to try something a little bit different. I know that being a bank holiday Monday, there was so much other stuff on that people could have gone along to, and instead they thought they'd try this new thing out and kind of see where it led to. And I'm hoping that it was as interesting and rewarding and fun for them as they said it was, as everyone was heading off. I'm really grateful for the ability to kind of build this little community around these cars, and hopefully try and make the scene a little bit more welcoming for people from all walks of life, but in particular women who are interested in cars, regardless of what those cars are. And that was a really nice thing about today's meet. And we must have looked like a fantastically odd convoy of cars at points when we had, we had me at the front, we had the Lilac Morris, the BMW behind me, the Lilac Morris Minor behind that, the huge grey 4x4 camper van, the little Singer Chamois and a Fiat 500. Like, I doubt there'll have been another convoy like that today in terms of just so much breadth and interest. It's been fantastic. I just really wanted to share the high that I'm on right now from having it all gone to plan and having such a lovely day, and share some of the footage, if you're watching online, that I've collected today in photos, so you can see what fun we had, and I can remember that as well. I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic bank holiday weekend yourselves. I know, like I said, there's been so much on for this bank holiday weekend that you could take your cars along to, and hoping that you found something interesting and exciting, and you'll be able to tell me about that either on the comments or over on social media. Or if you're abroad, perhaps you're intrigued by kind of why we've got this extra bank holiday and excitement to go out in our cars. But in the meantime, thank you ever so much for listening. Drive safely and happy motoring.